Hi everybody, it's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company, and I'm here today with Amy Barrickman from Indigo Junction. Hi Amy, we're so glad you're here.
Thank you, it's great to be here.
Oh gosh, so we carry Amy's line of Crossroads denim, and it is, beautiful colors. Even the vest she's wearing is made out of it. There's so many things you can do with it, but we're a quilt shop, and I was wondering, what can we do as a quilt shop with this denim? And Amy brought over this book one day. We called her, have any ideas? She brought over this book, Dimensional Denim. And I was looking through it and I happened upon this picture right here with this pillow. When I saw that pillow, I was like, oh my gosh, that is awesome and would make a great quilt. So here's the pillow right here. Isn't that darling?
Here it is. Great color.
It's just darling. So we took the same idea and thought we would turn it into a quilt. So let's take a look at this quilt behind me. So this one right here is made up of 30 squares. We've got 5 across by 6 down. And it just goes together quickly, easily. You don't even have to machine quilt it. It's just really fun. And we can't wait to show you how to do it. So the yardage for this quilt that we need is?
We need 2 yards of each color that you're going to have on the quilt top, and then you'll need the backing, 1.5 yards for the backing and batting as well.
So 4 yards total of fabric for the top, and then 1.5 yards for that back.
Correct.
Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is cut out 30 background squares.
Right.
And then we're going
15 each color.
And then we're going to do a method on the top of it's called, what is it called now?
Strip and stitch.
Strip and stitch. I don't even know if I should be allowed to say that. Strip and stitch.
Well,
it doesn't sound so
it's
good.
Okay.
It's all right. So anyway, basically what we're doing is we're ripping strips, aren't we?
Yep, that's all we're going to do. So we're going to take the yardage, measure from the salvage 1 inch.
Now how many strips per square?
You'll have 2 strips per square, so
Okay.
half and half. So eventually you'll need 60 strips for the entire quilt.
Oh, okay. Okay, so, and I did one over here that's all different colors. So it's just a total of 4 yards then, but
Right.
you're still, you're still looking at your same number of squares and your same number of strips. So, so what if I just didn't measure that? What if it's not exactly 1 inch?
That is fine. It's all going to work out.
This
in
is
the
really
end.
therapeutic, you guys. I love this ripping.
It is. It can be a lot of fun.
So you're just going to rip these, and then they're kind of curly. So what do we do about
I like
that?
to press them before we stitch them down.
I think that's probably a really
It just
good
helps
idea.
you get a more exact measurement as you work with the strips.
When you go to sew them on.
Right,
Okay.
right.
So, so it
this
takes
one.
2 strips per each square, correct?
Right. So here's
All
your
right.
2 strips.
Now, Amy, you can see what she's done here is she's laid her strips across and then just, cut them and pinned them all down. You know me, I'm not really a fan of the pin. So
They
I
hurt
asked
sometimes.
permission just to go ahead and sew these on. So what I did, in either method, do what method is you feel most comfortable with. But what I did was I lined up the edge of my strip with the edge of this right here and just sewed straight across.
Right,
And then
corner to corner.
Cut it and went again. So let me just do a couple of these.
And that method just works really well. I tried it after you showed it to me and thought either works.
Yeah. Now, one of the things I noticed, Amy, is you brought some pieces. I just did mine with like a straight stitch. And you've got some pieces where you used all the decorative stitches on the top.
Right. That can be a really fun variation. Add a little bit of creativity. We tried a 12-weight thread. We tried variegated thread. So you can really be a little
That
more
is really
creative.
fun. Well, as quilters, we don't always use those fancy stitches. So that would be a fun place to use them.
It really is, because your machine is just filled with wonderful detail stitches. We've done some patterns that have purse patterns with different embroidery stitches, so it's fun to try it on the quilt as well.
That is fun. And mine is just straight in here. Now, anything we need to know, like how far apart do we, because I might kind of randomly
eyeball it, just so you have, it's personal preference. If you want to see more of the color underneath, you can separate them a little bit farther if you want to keep them closer together.
You just kind of want to see that color peeking out.
Right, but
Okay.
it's not, it doesn't have to, the beauty of this quilt is it's not perfection. It's not based on it being perfection when you sew these on.
So once you get all these on, your whole block is covered, what do you do, Amy?
Well, the next step will be to trim it. So then we'll be ready to piece it together. So here you can see the back side with our fun little zigzag design. And we're just going to take the rotary cutter and trim.
So you kind of use that square as your
guide.
Okay.
Yeah. So just get a little closer there.
There you go.
And trim it all off. Quick and easy.
That's awesome. And one more side.
One more side, and we'll be ready to move to the next. There you go. Perfect.
Never is. I was like,
that's the way we do it at our studio too.
Scraps? And I'm like, there's a drawer. So just go right in a drawer.
And there we are.
Oh, that is perfect. All right, so let's show how we put these together. We have some more. You brought some that are finished down here.
Yes. So here we go. See if
so
we can get it right.
When you put these together, they kind of zigzag, don't they?
Right, and you can see they form a square too. We'll start with the square so we can get an idea of how they piece together.
So we've got
there we go.
Now, what about all these threads?
Well, I just pull them off as we go, and then
Okay.
eventually, once you stitch it together, it stops rattling.
Right.
So you just kind of have to be patient with that because it is kind of tricky.
All right, so then what do we do? Sew this together like like a four patch?
Yes,
Just like a four
exactly.
patch?
Just like a four
All right,
patch.
shall we just go ahead and do that?
Sounds good.
All righty. I just loved this idea. I think this is a great use of denim. You know,
Well, we've even done it in recycled denim too, and it's kind of fun.
Oh yeah, that would be fun.
But I love
Like
all
old
the
jeans?
colors and how we can combine. And the quilt you did is just beautiful with the multicolors.
Well, it's rare that you get this many colors of denim to choose from. You know, usually we're looking at what we found at a thrift store, which is generally, jeans, regular jeans.
And that's what we wanted with the Crossroads line. We wanted to have just a nice palette for people to work with and thought of colors that, are more related to some of the quilting cottons too. Try to keep in a palette that...
Oh, yeah.
The fabric's great for like straps of purses too and things like that.
Oh,
Anywhere
gotcha.
you need a little heavier weight fabric to work with.
So what I've done here is I've sewn 2 and 2 and alternated my colors. And then I'm just going to sew this together just like we would a 4-patch. Now, when you...
And I do press.
When you sew...
Usually you want me to...
Oh, sure.
Okay.
If that's what you think we should do. You press those open?
Yep.
Because of the bulk. That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's pretty bulky.
That's a good idea.
So
now when we made the quilt up here, we just sewed rows together. Long rows, and then put our rows together. We're going to sew a little 4-patch because we want to show you, we tied this quilt. Obviously, this isn't the kind of quilt that you would take to a quilter and have it quilted because you want these to have some movement. And so we actually just tied it like we used to do in the old days, put a back on it and tied it. And we want to show you how to do that.
I love that idea of tying. It was so simple to finish it and just made this such a fun, quick quilt to make.
I'm all about quick,
Yes.
And so
Did I get it right?
I'm always looking for, oh no, this way. We want to go this way. Because basically you're going to put, you're actually going to sew your rows together long and your blocks are going to up, down this way.
The chevron, yeah.
Yeah. And then your next row that comes in, you'll come in this way. So just make sure your colors alternate and, if you're doing the quilt. And so we're just going to sew this together. Make sure that center seam lines up. And let me start at this end here.
Off you go.
Now, once you get your quilt together, and we're going to pretend this is our whole big quilt here, you will have 5 rows or 6 rows, 5 in each row, and you'll have a big quilt done. But we're going to show you how to do this with 4 because it's going to make it a lot easier. So we're pretending this is our big quilt.
Right.
So we're going to put a back and even a little batting in it. So we're going to put our batting down first, like this. And you want to make sure that your batting and your backing are both bigger than your top. Then you're going to put your top down, or your back down, I'm sorry. So batting, back, and then what we're going to do is we're going to put our top down so it's right sides together, like this. Because this is going to be your pattern.
Right.
Because both the other pieces are going to be a little bigger. So feel to make sure you have batting sticking out on all 4 sides. we're going to put some pins in here so this doesn't slide. I know I'm not.
And then when you trim it,
not a big pinner, but in this case, we don't want it to move.
we've got the nice soft texture of the denim.
I love that too. How do you get that soft texture in here? It's just so nice.
You know, the fabric's actually pre-washed and then softened. It's a sanding process. So there's definitely a right side and a wrong side. The twill side and then the softened side.
That's actually pretty important to know because denim can be a shrinking.
Yes,
So
yes,
what
we loved that it was
What
pre-washed.
I'm doing right now is I'm just trimming this up so I have a little bit less bulk to work with. But you want to make sure that you don't trim too close and you have a couple of inches to play with in case things slide, which they sometimes
do when you're stitching.
All right, now this is a flip and turn method, and we actually did this on the big quilt, and it worked great. So what we're going to do is we're going to sew all the way around this. We're going to leave an opening so that we can flip it and turn it, and then our quilt will be all finished. You won't even have to bind it, which for some people is like, you know, they'll be like thrilled about that. And so I'm just sewing around this. All three of my layers are laid together. So now basically what we're going to do is we are going to trim this off and just flip it right side out. And we have one that's done here.
And this
right here
showcases a fun variation where we added just a contrasting 12-weight thread.
I was going to say this is a little different than ours because it's got two solid blocks in it with our strips. But the stitching on here shows, which is really fun to me.
Yeah, it kind of repeats the chevron theme that we have in the quilt,
I just never even thought about it.
Well, for school colors, too.
Oh,
this
sure.
could be a really fun.
It would be really fun. Now, normally we have thread that matches this, but we want you guys to be able to see this. So we're going to show you how to tie this. And Amy's going to
take
show
it away.
That. First, you need a different kind of needle, don't you?
Yes, I'd get a heavier weight needle with a
big eye.
Big eye at the end. And for the 12-weight thread, a heavier thread. Or you could use embroidery floss, a few.
So this is a 12-weight thread, and basically it's equal to, like if you're embroidering, and you split your embroidery floss into 3 2-strand pieces.
Right.
This is the same weight as 2 strands.
2 strands, right.
Of embroidery floss.
Which makes it
So
really
it makes
nice.
it a little bit heavier. And
my method is I just go down and leave a little tail when I tie.
The tying tail.
The tying tail. And then I come up on the other side, try to get in. It's personal preference how close you want to get to that center point.
Now also you can use lots of things to tie with. I mean, we used to use yarn. I've used ribbon. So you're kind of going back in the same hole you came out of.
Right, and then I'm going to come back up.
So she's like
here.
took one stitch and an additional stitch.
Right.
And she'll come up across from each other and then
Try
we'll
to get
tie
exactly
a knot in
the
that.
same. Right.
Basically, this holds your back and your batting and your top all together.
Right. And when I was tying the black and white
want my
quilt,
finger?
yeah, sure. When
There we
I
go.
was tying the black and white quilt, I found that at first I started doing, a cross, essentially doing 2 ties. And then I got kind of lazy and I kind of was fine with the single tie method too. So you could do either way. So you could go ahead and put another stitch opposite.
Yeah.
Do you want me to try that or not?
I just did my one straight across there, and I did actually knot mine a couple of times
just to
be
sure.
to be sure, and then trimmed my thread. Tying is a great method to hold the quilt together. Here, we'll just do this
be
and
careful.
live dangerously.
Yes.
There we go. So now you know how to tie, and it's the same when you put your big quilt together. We're just going to we'll have all of our squares together. They'll be 5 by 6, and you're going to lay that on your 1.5 yards of backing, your 1.5 yards of batting. So all the way around it. Don't forget to leave that gap.
Correct. To turn it.
And then turn it. Trim it and turn it, and then you can tie it. And we tied at every corner. So just to keep everything together and hold it together, we tied it every single corner, went together so quick and easy.
Oh,
It's
fun.
just been delightful.
I love
having
what you came up with this.
Oh, it's awesome. Well, this book is full of ideas. There are loads of different things you can do with the denim in here. Amy actually she's got one of those minds like I do where we're just like
Lots of
bing,
ideas.
bing, bing. Yeah. And so actually even the outfits we're wearing are Indigo Junction
Yes,
patterns,
yeah,
which is really fun. I love it. I get lots of compliments on
Well,
this.
thank you.
Anyway, we hope you enjoyed this tutorial with Amy Barrickman from Indigo Junction on the Crossroads denim quilt from the Missouri Star Quilt Company. I just threw the needle on the floor. Let me grab that.
Uh-oh.
Here we go. I got it. I thought it was a piece of
Good thing we don't have bare feet.
There you go. Yeah.